we need campaign finance reform in the worst way. Because there's a thing called superorganisms. This is our government on the federal level is supposed to protect us from rogue nations, pandemics, asteroid strikes, and billionaires. And yet the billionaires own the politicians.
The asteroid strikes I disagree with. I don't think there's a damn thing a government, federal or local, can do if there's an asteroid strike.
Hopefully you're wrong, because there's one.
Oh, haven't you seen the movie Armageddon?
Yeah. I don't think we're landing Bruce Willis on a.
Well, in 2036, we're getting a really close flyby. So
yeah, no, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, Mark. I agree with that. I just think that there's different levels of government and different perspectives on them. Like, for example, talk about being logical. For example, it's illogical to be an American voter and go to that ballot box and vote for president and not give two shits who your school board member or your local councilman is. And I say that as someone who's worked presidential races. I have not worked, as Holly has, in the White House. I've worked with folks that worked for Republican and Democratic administrations. So when they drink after hours, it's really cool to hear the stories. But in local government as a commissioner, I try to explain to folks, my election is November 5th. I, as a local commissioner of 47,000 residents, will have more of an impact on your daily life.
I've heard this, yeah.
Than the president will, than the governor will, than a senator will, because we are the ones that help you with your garbage. Make sure you have enough cops and firefighters on the roads. Make sure we're working with other layers of government. Yet it's illogical because voters want, and you'll see it on a drop-off. If I have 25 of the 47,000 in my district vote, let's say 25,000 will vote for president, I'll have 14 or 15,000 that vote for my race because they just don't care. So that's kind of that's my soapbox. That's what I'm getting on, is start caring. It's logical to care a heck of a lot more about your local electeds. Vote for president. We need that. Vote for senator, governor, etc. In Florida, we don't have a gubernatorial for another 2 years, but it's illogical even in how folks behave at the ballot box. They're not thinking logically about their local government.
I would tell you, Michael, they're not thinking. So it's just like people driving and texting. They're not thinking. They're not saying, I'm making a poor decision. They're just not thinking about the decision. It's laziness because the information is all there, readily available. So it's a combination of a lot of different factors, really, again, driven culturally. It's laziness, it's entitlement, it's someone else. It's the mysterious they. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to decide. They will do. They. It's a fascinating dynamic, and I agree with you that in general we do a horrific job in the United States with thinking about every single level of government, because the infrastructures that get built, oh my goodness gracious, have a massive impact on your day-to-day life. And those infrastructures, like going all the way back to what you said about culture, those infrastructures outlive the politicians, unquestionably.
Yes.
You know, we have, I can use our own county. I'm an elected official in our district in Colorado. And in our own county, you know, we have elected officials on our county commission, but that's not who runs things. The staff makes decisions. The staff decides what gets put up at meetings. The staff influences how a report comes out to be for or against. It is, that's the real opportunity and challenge, is these infrastructures. And the United States government is the largest employer. You know, just the TSA alone is up to almost 70,000 people. And by the way, they even have a union. Who the hell they're unionized against, since it's us, that's the government. I'm completely unclear on that. That's a whole nother illogical, irrational structure that's layered in there. But these are massive structures. These are not things that move ever, perhaps, or if it's at all, it is so minute of a movement that it makes so different.
I think there's a thing in there about the difference between Occam's razor and Harlan's razor. So if I understand it correctly, Occam's razor is the simplest answer is likely the best, most accurate and most correct. Harlan's razor is never ascribe conspiracy to something you can explain by incompetence. So when you look at a large enough body of people, probably 50% of them are incompetent, because 50% of all people have a below average IQ. I mean, it's just one way to measure it. But the idea is that when people think, like Michael Shermer talks about this in his books. He's a professor of skepticism at Chapman University.
Yeah, I know it well.
Yeah. Have you met him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a really interesting guy. He's written 13 bestsellers on skepticism. His most famous, Michael, is Why People Believe Weird Things. So I think
sort of debunks alien myths and
all that type of stuff. He used to battle on like Donahue and Oprah against like Holocaust deniers, stuff like that. So now I can't remember what the point I was going to bring up. But what I love about his attitude towards things is, like, how do we pump the brakes just to make sure that we're actually pointing the energies of whatever it is we're attempting to do? Like, I'll give you an example, Holly. This kind of falls over politics, but it's also our ability to incorrectly use research tools. Because I think right now we have unprecedented access to the best research tools that have ever existed in mankind, but we don't know how to research. So I did a thought experiment for my second book.
Well, I would say underneath, we don't know how, we are not rewarded for real research.
Oh, that's cool. I like
All
that.
we have to do is follow money trails and begin to tease apart. Why is it we've created this lack of interest in true research? Well, I don't get paid for true research. I get paid to prove something right that someone determined there is a grant in place for.
Neat. But there is an argument, though. I hear in you that you're a seeker of truth, and so am I. So are we just odd? Like we're genetic freaks, me and you? or is it like, can you reach escape velocity and find the better angels of our nature in that with that regard? Because I Googled, for my second book, I Googled Obama born in Kenya. How many Google search results do you think I got?
Not very many.
No, it was 1.26 million. And then someone in my audience did the same experiment because they kind of like to fact check me.
Mm-hmm.
They said, and I can't remember where I was. Kind of wish I could, but I can't remember where I was. Chicago, Atlanta, something like that. And the guy said, no, Mark, it's 5.56 million. And I said, okay, so let's do a thought experiment here. Let's assume you're not like me and you. You're not an oddball. You're a normal person Googling Obama born in Kenya. Now, which way do you think that person leans politically? And everybody says leans to the right. And I said, okay, well, what do you think a normal person does with the more conservative of the two numbers, 1.26 million results? Do they read 1.26 million articles or even 1.26 million headlines? And almost invariably, someone will say they might read the first article, but the next thing they're going to do is rush out on social media, lecturing everybody else how stupid they are, proving their own foolishness. So it's a weird kind of idiotic feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that?
Proving ourselves right.
Yeah. So what this really should be is the great emancipator of mankind, because it's a sum total of human knowledge in any given moment. What is it really? An idiotic echo chamber. So it's like, how do we pump the brakes?
It meets our need.
Yes.
And I think until we begin to understand that we have a deep need to be right about every little thing, it's very challenging to break that cycle or to behave in any way other than that. Listen, I'm supposedly this global expert in what's called the ladder of inference, which walks us through our thinking process, how we get to decisions, and of course, how we screen out anything that is contrary to our belief, okay? And we only see what we already believe to be true. And the fact that we have built entire mega systems like search engines that compound that effect, and I still do it, right? I still prove myself right. Yeah. I can prove to my husband we need to remodel the kitchen. It's very simple. I know I'm right. So it is, I'm not sure that we can ever get out of that. However, we can be aware when we're doing it.
Yes.
And there are what I call neuro prompts, quick visits to our brain to prompt ourselves to ponder a possibility, an option, an alternative. I'm still going to prove myself right. But could I, for a matter of instance, just seconds, say, what if I was wrong? What else would I see? Where else would I look? What else would I consider? And in that is huge power. We do have the control to do that in our lives. We have the power over our brain to do that. I have never seen any indication that says we're ever going to be able to break the proving ourselves right. But we can be aware of it, and we can use it. We can use it to our advantage instead of just stumble along blindly doing it without having any knowledge that we're doing it and colluding with it.